The 40th reigning monarch crowned there since the year 1066. The day of splendor and formality will feature customs dating back more than 1,000 years. Coronation Day coverage begins right now on WION The World is One. Welcome to the program. I'm Eric Njoka, and together with my colleagues Molly Gambhir and Vikram Chandra, who are both in London. Molly, if you can hear me, just wave at us. There you go.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. London is all geared up, of course, for this big day. It's an event that's taking place after 70 years, Eric, and all through the week. We've been speaking to people on the ground who've been sharing not just how excited they are, but also what they really feel about the coronation. And let me tell you, it's been a mixed bag of reactions that we've been getting in. This is, of course, one of the biggest security operations that's ever been seen. In fact, in British history, this is the biggest security operation. A record 11,500 police officers are guarding the coronation. This is Operation Golden Orb. That's the code word that's been used for the King's coronation ceremony. I'm coming to you live from the City of Dreams. Right behind me is the Parliament, is the Big Ben, and of course Westminster Abbey, where the coronation service will begin at 11 a.m. local time. King Charles and Queen Consort will be making their way from Buckingham Palace at about 10:20 a.m. local time. And let me tell you, the entire route, Eric, at this point is dotted with hundreds of thousands of people who...
Well, Molly, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you in a short while so that you can explain the fun and the splendor and the euphoria around London. In a short while from now, just hold on there. So Molly Gambhir, Vikram Chandra and myself will tell you why this day is important, what it means for the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth and even the world, and also if the ceremony will go according to plan. Let's first go live to London and get a glimpse of the mood among the thousands who have gathered to witness this historic day, once-in-a-lifetime event. As you can see there, the guards are already preparing to escort the King and the Queen to Westminster Abbey. I will tell you what to expect today and how the coronation process goes. So the King and Queen Consort Camilla will travel from Buckingham Palace to the Great West Door of Westminster Abbey. They will set off at around 10:20 British Standard Time in the horse-drawn Diamond Jubilee State Coach. As it leaves Buckingham Palace, the coach, accompanied by the sovereign's escort of the household cavalry, will pass a guard of honor comprising about 160 members of the three armed services. The procession will head down the Mall to Trafalgar Square, then along Whitehall and Parliament Street before turning into Parliament Square and Broad Sanctuary. The 1.42-mile route will be flanked by 1,000 members of the military from the Army, Royal Navy and Royal Air Force. About halfway through the 2-hour coronation ceremony, again I'll say, it's slightly under 2 hours, gun salutes involving 400 personnel will mark the moment St. Edward's crown is placed on the King's head. 21 rounds will be fired at 11 locations around United Kingdom, including Edinburgh, Cardiff, and Belfast, and also on Royal Navy ships at sea. And in London, a 62-round salute will fire at the Tower of London, along with a 6-gun salvo on Horse Guards Parade. After the ceremony, the King and the Queen will travel back to the palace in the ornate gold state coach. Now, this coach is a part of the coronation procession, a much larger ceremony display than the morning's procession. The coach will leave the Abbey and travel along Whitehall past the statue of King Charles I at Trafalgar Square, through Admiral Arch, and up the Mall, and finally to the palace. When they reach Buckingham Palace, the King and the Queen will appear at the balcony and wave to their people, or at their people. So there you go. That's the coronation procession route. Like I mentioned, that is Buckingham Palace at the far end. And people are still thronging the streets just to catch a glimpse of this once-in-a-lifetime event, which will be beamed live from 10:00 hours British Standard Time. So what do we look out for in this coronation ceremony? Well, the ceremony at London's Westminster Abbey, which will see Charles and his wife Camilla crowned King and Queen, will last, hear this, just 1 hour. The only part of the ceremony that was shielded from the glare of cameras was a second ritual of anointment during when the Archbishop anointed the Queen's hands and the head, and also consecrated it with oil, which we believe is from Jerusalem. According to reports, Charles may choose to follow his mother's example and be anointed in private. However, there is speculation that the new king might break with that tradition. Apparently, there is a special see-through canopy which is being prepared to offer Charles the option to be anointed in public for the first time in history of the British monarchy. This is live. This is live in London at Westminster Abbey. Dignitaries and guests who were invited by the King and the Queen are taking their seats and waiting for the ceremony to begin. So I will be telling you all about this procession, all about this coronation ceremony, why it is important to the United Kingdom, and why it is important to the world, and also important to the King and the Queen. Now, for more on this, Brittany Barger is joining us live from Washington, D.C. She's the Europe editor for Royal Central. Brittany, welcome to the program, and thank you very much for choosing WION World is One.
Thank you for having me.
How does it feel being part of history?
It's kind of indescribable. It's hard to describe. I mean, there's moments that you don't realize that you're going to be a part of. I mean, we knew eventually that this would happen. We knew Queen Elizabeth II wouldn't live forever, but it's nice to see a historical moment that's a pleasant moment. Because for the past few years, we've lived through some historical moments and been part of history that's been not so pleasant. So it's nice that we're getting to experience something that's going to be a moment of history that is positive.
Brittany, we'll be talking about the coronation procession in a short while, but let me just understand from you, how would you compare this coronation process and ceremony with that of Queen Elizabeth, or the late Queen Elizabeth II in 1953? Are there any comparisons, sticking out points?
Well, it's been 70 years. So obviously you have the issue of security. The security is a major issue now, where it wasn't as big a deal in 1953. There's more people in London, more people that can watch the procession on TV. So it's different in the sense of the security and how many people can watch this. There is in the procession a difference because the Queen rode in the Gold State coach to Westminster Abbey. Wow. However, King Charles and Queen Camilla are choosing to ride in the Diamond Jubilee coach, as it's a little bit more comfortable on their way to the Abbey.
All right, we're still talking about comparisons, Brittany. And let's compare Charles's coronation with that of his late mother now. There's the limited time factor. This will be under 2 hours and the ceremony is off. It is less grandeur than the 1953 event. The late Queen's coronation was notably the first coronation to ever be televised. An estimated 27 million people in Britain tuned in to watch the ceremony on TV, and a further 11 million listened on radio. I could go on and on, by the way, but what will be different this year, this generation, you think?
We have obviously social media, so every little thing can be nitpicked now. That's going to get blasted all over Twitter, Instagram, and the like. Also, television is now high def, so we're getting to see everything up close and personal in color. But it's just, it's a lovely thing for everyone to see. And Charles has chosen to slim it down a little bit. It's not going to be as long. It's not as grand, I guess you could say. But I think that goes with the times, that the economic situation that's going on across the globe. He's taken that into account because obviously the taxpayers are footing the bill. So I think it's good that he is taking that into account and is not going and taking this grand coronation ceremony where so many people are struggling at the moment.
Brittany, let's keep to that. I want to know your views about the new king. What do you think about him?
I think that he is a good man. He is really passionate about his projects when it comes especially to green initiatives. He kind of follows his father with that. He has made mistakes, but haven't we all? Of course, he was married to Diana, who is beloved, especially here in the United States. Diana is still loved. So I think it depends on where you're from also on your opinion of His Majesty. He's not viewed as positively, I believe, in the United States as he is maybe elsewhere. And I think that's the Diana factor. But me personally, I think that he will be a good king. He works hard. He's always been hardworking, always been very passionate about his projects and giving with the Prince's Trust and different things. So I think he's going to have a good reign.
Brittany Baja, stay with me because I want to know the views of Americans about this coronation ceremony. Very many people are enthusiastic about this day. It's a historic day, and we still have to explain to our viewers why this day is important going forward. So stay with me, stick around. You are watching WION World is One. Let's go live to London now and see or gauge the mood there. This is Westminster Abbey, where guests and dignitaries are currently arriving at the Westminster Abbey, taking their seats and waiting for the king, the man of the hour, and his queen to arrive. And then the Archbishop of Canterbury will conduct the whole ceremony and anoint the king and queen, respectively. So the coronation ceremony procedure, this service is compared of or composed rather, excuse me for that, of 6 parts. The first part is the recognition, the oath, the anointing, the investiture, the enthronement, and finally the homage. Coronations, again for the benefit of our viewers, are state occasions, so although they take place in Westminster Abbey, they are not organized by the Dean and Chapter, but they are organized by the Earl Marshal, one of the great officers of state. Let's talk about the enthronement and homage, why it is significant. I'll just take you through what happens. Actually, let me just begin with the anointing. The anointing with holy oil is a central act to the religious ceremony and takes place in private, but we'll have to wait and see if King Charles will decide otherwise and break tradition. The king will remove his crimson robe of state and sit on the coronation chair made for King Edward I in around 1300 years. He will wear a simple white shirt representing that he comes before God as a servant. Then the enthronement and homage. The enthroning is a setting of the king in his crown on the throne. The Archbishop will proclaim. These are the words written every coronation period. The Archbishop might decide to change. I'll just read a few of the lines from that stature. It says, "Stand firm and hold fast from henceforth this seat of royal dignity," and the moment symbolizes stability and constancy. The enthronement traditionally represents the monarch taking possession of his kingdom. And finally, the homage. The Archbishop pays homage. Oaths of allegiance have always been sworn to the newly anointed and crowned sovereign. The Prince of Wales is the only blood prince to pay homage during the service, in a break of tradition. The new homage of the people invites people watching around the UK and across the world in the King's overseas realms to cry out and join in by swearing allegiance to the King. Let's join our colleagues Molly Gambhir and Vikram Chandra, both are in London. Vikram, good to see you.
Good to see you, good to see you.
Tell us.
As you can see, I have Buckingham Palace behind me, and the fact that there's a standard up there means that the king is still inside Buckingham Palace. He's supposed to leave there a short while from there, along with the Queen Consort, and then they'll be heading down the mall out here and heading for Westminster Abbey. I can tell you there's a real party atmosphere out here in central London. A lot of the streets are blocked off, but a lot of people coming. Look, we keep hearing monarch. How long is the monarchy going to last? And, you know, does King Charles have the same sort of a cachet as Queen Elizabeth did? Valid questions, but for the moment, the people of London are out here and seem to be having quite a party. The only thing that could literally rain on this parade is the rain. It's really cloudy out there, and we could all be looking like drowned rats fairly soon.
Where is your umbrella?
It's literally a case of raining on the parade.
Where is your umbrella?
I don't have an umbrella. I should have got one, but I can see lots and lots of people out. A lot of people out here, none of them have umbrellas, so I think they're all prepared to say, hey, let's just have a party.
Okay.
And it's going to be a party, by the way. Molly, I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's a party out here for sure.
Molly, what do you think?
Well, London is just getting started, Eric. This is officially going to be the beginning of a 3-day-long celebration. So the coronation service today is just day one. We will have the quintessential coronation lunch, and by the way, the coronation quiche, which is the signature dish that's been chosen by the royal couple, by King Charles and Queen Consort this time around, has also been attracting a lot of mixed reactions online, but we'll get to that later. Post that, we will of course see street parties, and they've already started. Let me tell you, the entire route, as Vikram was just mentioning, the party atmosphere, the mall, Buckingham Palace to Whitehall to Parliament Square, the entire route being dotted by people, and we have been speaking to people who've been camping right outside Buckingham Palace. So the entire stretch, the mall, or as it's called, the Mull over here locally, people have been camping here for nearly 5 to 6 days in some cases.
Wow.
We were speaking to many of them last night. They've been telling us they're there with their sleeping bags through the night. They've been there for 2 nights. They've been there through the day, limited food, and they were just partying away. And some have come from different parts of the UK. Some have come from different parts of the world just to be able to witness this celebration. And some have made sure that, this is a celebration that they will be, talking about. Of course, as Vikram said, the questions that have been raised over the costs, especially at a time when the UK has been grappling with the cost of living crisis. Millions of households are dealing with basic issues when it comes to their household budgets. But as an expert I was talking to the other day put it, it takes money to make money. And that's the other argument, that the royal family attracts tourism, and that's where it really boils down to. But
Molly,
we're hoping that it does not literally rain on the parade today, because the prediction does say that showers are expected in a short while from now. 10:20 a.m. is when the royal couple will be leaving from Buckingham Palace.
Molly, we'll be talking about money a little later. Let's talk about the funfair now. I want to go to Vikram Chandra. How do you gauge the enthusiasm of Britons at this historic day?
Look, the royal family is about spectacle. It's about a show. It's about giving people a symbol to hold on to. It's happened in courts in the past. It's a unifying factor. So I think people still do enjoy that, however much they may say, why do we have the royal family, and we are tired of Harry versus Meghan, and we are tired of all the drama, we are tired of the soap opera. But I think to some extent that spectacle is still something which symbolizes Great Britain. It symbolizes the time when people were together. So I do believe the royal family is a unifying factor. Now, yes, a lot of that had to do with the personality of Queen Elizabeth, who was probably the most popular monarch, or the most popular head of state anywhere on the planet for the last 60 to 70 years. We'll have to see whether King Charles is able to command the same loyalty. But at least for the moment, if you can keep seeing the opinion polls, but if you look at the polls, only something like 14% of Britons would say do away with the monarchy, even now.
Even now.